All right, welcome back to Clash of Cultures channel. As we continue on with our college football preview series, today we're going to be previewing the Oregon Ducks. Before we get into the football talk, as always, if you are new to the channel, please do us a huge favor and leave a like down below. Also, hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so you guys do not miss a single upload or your favorite team being discussed here on the channel. Also, if you guys are a returning loyal viewer, we appreciate the love and support as we continue to grow this community. So I'm going to go first this time just because you've been going first the last couple times. But when we talk about the Oregon Ducks, I truly think that they have a real shot at getting into the playoffs. Now, if I had to bet, I don't think they're going to get in. As you guys watched the USC video a couple days back, I think USC is going to win the Pac-12. But I do think Oregon is the next in line for the crown in that conference. Just to kind of recap what happened last year, obviously Oregon had a chance late to get into the playoffs, but they always left a kind of a sour taste in the media, the fans, the voters' mouths with that 49-3 blowout loss to Georgia in opening week. Bo Nix did not look great after transferring from Auburn. He had a pretty mediocre showing in that game, but then he reeled off 11 wins in a row, became a Heisman in the Heisman talks, had a pretty good season to end the year. And they ended up losing to Washington by a field goal and then losing to in-state rival in the Civil War in Oregon State. And then they had a good showing against North Carolina in the Holiday Bowl down in San Diego, winning by a late heroic touchdown by I believe it was Bo Nix. But like I said, I do think USC wins the Pac-12. Now, Oregon has a lot of people coming back. In my eyes, they won the transfer portal. Those of you guys who follow like all the transfer pages and stuff on Instagram or any social media, I really feel like there was a week to 2 weeks during the spring / like February time where I felt like every day I was opening Instagram and there was a new recruit, whether people were flipping to their, flipping there or just transferring there in general. But just to name a few guys, so they were able to bring in Junior Aguilar. I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. 4-star offensive tackle from Texas. Johnny Cornelius, 4-star offensive tackle from Rhode Island. Trayshawn Holden, 4-star wide receiver from Alabama. Tez Johnson, 3-star wide receiver from Troy. Jordan Birch, 4-star edge from South Carolina. Justin Jacobs, 4-star linebacker from Iowa. Kyrie Jackson, 3-star corner at Alabama. Evan Williams, 4-star safety out of Fresno State. And Tysheem Johnson, 3-star safety from Ole Miss. So you're talking about, 9 to 10 players who they brought in who were 3- and 4-star recruits, not to mention all the players they brought back, as well as guys that they recruited. So I truly think Oregon has a shot. Now, again, I wouldn't bet my money that Oregon is going to win the championship or make the playoffs. I still would probably ride with USC over them. I favor them over them. But, I mean, with a guy like Bo Nix, a veteran in college football, a guy who was in the Heisman race last year, another year under his belt in Eugene, I'm sorry. I truly think that they have a shot. But what do you think about Oregon? What do you give their chances realistically on making a playoff push?
Yeah, let me caveat this by first saying, please never hold anything I said in the previous video against me in this video. I don't know what I said in the USC video on their chances or possibility of winning the Pac-12 because really what we're doing is breaking down one team at a time. So I did not look at the entire Pac-12 as I looked at USC. So what I'm going to say is probably a hot take, but not only do I think Oregon's going to win the Pac-12, I think they're going to get in the playoffs.
Really?
When I look at what they bring back and what they brought back via the transfer portal, so remember, like Steven said, they brought back Bo Nix, but also remember they're bringing back Bucky Irvin, their starting running back, their lead running back. They're bringing back their second running back, who also went for about 700 yards in Noah Whittington. They're bringing back Troy Franklin. They're bringing back Chris Hudson, and we talked about the people that they're bringing over. So when you look at what they're bringing back offensively, what they're bringing back, Tez Johnson coming over from Alabama to replace
Troy.
I said Troy. Who did I say?
Tez Johnson's coming from Troy. Trayshawn Holden's coming from Alabama.
Troy, Tez Johnson's coming from Troy. To replace the one receiver they lost in Chris Cota. They did lose 3 offensive linemen, but in terms of skill position, they're dang near bringing back every single player to include their tight end, Terrence Ferguson, and I think they're only going to get better. Obviously, Bo Nix, and we've seen the early issues, especially like Steven talked about in that Georgia game, but they seem to get better as the season went on. They are bringing back so much, both in the transfer portal and in recruiting. I think Oregon, one is going to be a 12-0, 11-1 team. Two is going to win the Pac-12, and three is going to be in the playoffs. I mean, and that's just I look at this team, I looked at this roster, and I was very impressed. Like I said, not only by what they brought back, but what they're bringing in to really kind of take the place of the people that they lost, and in a lot of ways add. I think they're going to have a better offensive roster this year than they had last year, and they were pretty explosive last year.
Yeah, and just to kind of bring up their schedule, I mean, just looking at the schedule, the only reason why I don't favor them over USC to win the Pac-12 is because I think they could drop a few, if not just one of these games. I mean, they lost to Oregon State last year. Oregon State's going to be even better, bringing in a better quarterback. I don't know. I mean, we obviously haven't gotten to Oregon State yet. That's going to be for a future video. But I'm pretty sure they're predicted to be in the top 25, so they're not a slouch of a team. And that's going to be the Civil War game, another rivalry game.
Yeah.
You got to play USC, who in my eyes is probably going to be the betting favorite, the odds favorite in that game. Then you still got a Utah team who brought back Cam Rising. You guys go ahead.
No, and so the reason I feel good now, again, as you kind of talk about this roster, one, I think the first three games, you got to feel really good about. That Colorado game, that's a toss-up. Who knows? You know, Colorado.
Shut up about Colorado. Shut up.
Colorado. That's going to be a tough game, but I feel like Oregon will be able to pull that out. Stanford's a little down.
Ouch.
I think you have two games that to be really concerned about. That being the Washington game, like we talked about with Penix in Washington, and again, Washington's a team that we will talk about. You at that USC game, and then you just say the Oregon State game. Although I think Oregon has better talent, anything can happen in a rivalry game.
What about Utah?
Again,
What about Utah?
So I think Utah's going to be a little bit down. I think now they are bringing back Rising, and we'll talk about Utah as well. But I suspect they're going to beat Utah. I think Utah is not going to be as good as they were last year. So. Like I said, when I look at what this Oregon team brings back, I think this is a powerhouse team. I truly, if I was betting right now, would bet that they're going to be in the playoff this year.
So I don't remember what you said in the USC video. So let me just say,
I don't remember either.
So you feel like you think your pick to win the Pac-12 is Oregon.
Yeah, I think that USC game is going to be a shootout. And as what I do remember I said about that USC team is that offense is explosive. But I think Oregon can match them player for player. I'm not going to call Bo Nix Caleb Williams. But when I look at the outside, I like the receivers at Oregon. I like Bucky Irving. I like what they have on the offensive line. And like I said, I think what they're bringing back, especially in skill position, and really what they did is they've really made their receiving group even better. I think they can go blow for blow with USC. And I also believe they have a better defense than USC.
Yeah, I think their defense is going to be better than USC's as well. It is going to be a shootout, I think. So let me ask you this. So do you think it's going to be like last year where there's like a bundle of teams for the Pac-12 championship? Or do you think there's going to be like the two 11-1 teams? Because I mean, USC and Oregon are playing each other in the regular season, but they can very well play each other again in the Pac-12. You think that's going to happen? Or
yeah, I think, and let me try to give as much leeway as possible. I think you're looking at maybe four teams. Like I said, I think Utah will be down, but suspect that Utah could be good. So I think for the Pac-12 championship, you're looking at Oregon, USC, Washington, and Utah. I think those are the four teams that you're really looking at. And I wouldn't be shocked if going into late in the season, and I'm saying this, I don't know where everybody plays everybody. I can obviously look and see where Oregon plays USC, and I can see where they play Washington. But I wouldn't be surprised if two or three of them are at one loss at that point.
Yeah. I mean, like I said in the USC video, they're my favorite. I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon made a run. But I mean, just based off looking at their schedule, let's say hypothetically they do go undefeated. That is a hell of a resume. Based off what we know now, obviously a lot can change by week, 9, 10, 11, 12. But just the caliber of opponents they're playing compared to the caliber opponents Clemson or, Oklahoma is playing, teams like that. I think realistically in the Pac-12 right now, Washington, Utah, USC, and Oregon, those are 4 teams that I would say are in people's minds when they think of competing for playoffs. Maybe not so much Washington right now, but I mean, there's really not a bunch of conferences that have 4 teams that have a realistic shot at doing that. Agreed. I mean, you got the Big Ten that have a couple. The ACC has maybe 2. SEC has 3, 4 maybe, and then Big 12 has 1 or 2. So, I mean, I think the Pac-12 is going to be a lot of good football this year. Obviously, I know there's a stigma where a lot of people on the West Coast don't watch the Pac-12 because of the time difference.
East Coast.
Yeah, I'm sorry. A lot of people on the East Coast don't watch the Pac-12 because of the time difference. But I think this year there's going to be a lot of good football played in the Pac-12. You have a lot of good quarterbacks, Bo Nix being one of them, obviously. But my final prediction for Oregon is I'm going to say they're going to go 10-2 in Pac-12 play. I think they still find a way to get in the Pac-12 championship with that record, though. I think they're going to be beating up on each other a lot in conference. But I eventually, I think USC is going to edge them out at the end.
Yeah, so there are a couple things that I really like about this schedule. One, I think they're going to play 1, 2, and again, let me say this. I do have a bet on Colorado. I do think they're going to be better than people suspect. However, I don't think they're a playoff team, and I don't think they're ready to play with Oregon. I think Oregon, and I know we kind of joked earlier, I think Oregon's going to be able to handle that game. So I think they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, and then get a bye before playing Washington, before they really play a team that they even have to be concerned with. So their first game that I think they have to even really strap it on and bring their A game is going to be Washington coming off a bye. I feel good about that. I feel good about USC only because, like I said, I think it's a shootout. I think that game is going to be at Oregon. I think it's going to be late. That's probably going to be the college game day game. I think the Atson Zoo is going to be jumping and live and loud and going crazy. And that energy and playing at home in that atmosphere, I think is going to help carry them in what I think is going to be a very high scoring game, maybe one of the games of the year. One of the games I'm definitely going to be tuned into. And then the rest of their schedule, I think they're pretty favorable. Like I said, I think Utah is going to be a little bit down, but we'll see. Those are the 2 games that I'm really concerned about for them. I think they find a way to pull it off. Now, to Steven's point, because of the way the Pac-12 is structured, where the 2 best teams play again in the Pac-12 championship, that's where my concern would be. If that was a USC again, I would have concern about them playing USC a second time and beating USC a second time. So we'll see. Like I said, I have them probably, even if you say they dropped the USC game, I have them 11-1 in the Pac-12 championship. And like I said, just being honest, if I was making my early predictions, and again, please don't hold this to me. We may go through all these videos and I have 7 teams in the playoffs, so don't hold me to this. But Oregon is definitely one of the teams that I have that I believe is going to be in the playoffs this year.